Hey guys, welcome back to Understanding Anxiety with Trace. So today we're going to have the next practical portion, or homework if you will, for this third phase of the course. So in this last phase we've been talking about communication a lot, and kind of the attitudes and things that you can do in order to work on that. And this homework is designed to help you with that. It's not necessarily easy. The concepts that we've talked about this phase are relatively straightforward, but the application of them can be pretty tricky and pretty difficult. So that's kind of the point of this worksheet, and we're calling this the Communication Worksheet. And then, the real question is, what would you say to your anxiety, right? And the reason that we have this is because everybody's at a different level as far as their willpower, their vitality, their mental emotional fortitude. So communicating with the anxiety at certain points can be a little bit trickier, especially as you're making progress. So the point of this is that while you're feeling okay, you can write these things down and then reference them later, and that's going to kind of help change that focus and that state, right, as we change our language. And the ultimate goal here is that we're trying to establish respect and boundaries, right? Because those are very important for any relationship or any type of communication, especially with that part of ourself that is anxiety. So we're trying to build that relationship. So I'm just going to go over the questions really quick here. And of course, I'll have this as a document from my Google Drive that you can download in the comments of the Facebook page, or it'll be in the description of the YouTube video. So the first question is, what would you say to your anxiety during a panic attack? And now it's important that we understand those concepts that we've talked about in the last, 3 videos to say, okay, well, thanks for trying first, thanks for being a part of my team, and I want to be on your team. And well, the screaming is, it's really hard to know what you're trying to say with the screaming, and that makes me upset a lot of the time, and I don't think it helps, but I want to work with you. So that doesn't have to be your answer, but I'm just trying to give you a general guideline. If we're applying those concepts from before, make it personal, make it your own words, because that's where the sincerity comes in. The next is, when a trigger is presented or brought up, what would you say to your anxiety at that point? Again, if we go back, we don't want to say something like, "Oh, this is ridiculous," and we don't want to be dismissive. That'll make it yell some more, right? So you can find whatever answers work best for you. I'm just trying to help guide you with some principles that's going to make this effective for you. What would you say to anxiety to recognize its power? And like I said, these are concepts that are easy and straightforward, but really hard to integrate and understand, especially when you're first starting out. We don't want to recognize any part of anxiety, much less its power. And I'll keep going. It says, what would you say to anxiety to recognize it as part of you? What would you say to anxiety to honor its efforts, to bring boundaries and discipline? What would you say to show that you're on its team? And so you can see that on this worksheet, I've set up very specific questions to kind of help give you the words to say. It's very easy in the cycle of anxiety to kind of not think about it and not work on it too much while we're at a low anxiety level, and we really start to want to work with it when we're starting to experience anxiety, which is just human nature. It's fine, but my point is that more often than not, as we're just starting to work on these concepts and these practices, that we won't have enough vitality built up, or we won't have enough momentum built up to kind of ask these questions appropriately, or with sincerity, especially. It's going to be very hard to come up with an answer to these questions in the middle of a panic attack. You're scared, you're being yelled at, you're angry, you're upset, and so for you to respond appropriately or to come up with an answer is going to be much more unlikely. So that's kind of the point as far as this whole worksheet goes, is that I want you to take this and fill it out, when you're feeling perfectly fine. And just imagine that, you don't have to imagine that you're talking to the anxiety right then. Just say, you know what, this is how I feel about that, and I want to say this to it. and then have that piece of paper, you know, in your purse or in your wallet or backpack, in your car, wherever you want it, so that you have it on hand, right? So that way, when you're, you know, experiencing anxiety, all you're gonna have to do is shift that focus just a little bit and say, oh yeah, I've got that paper. Let me go read that paper really quick. And you can say, you know, okay, wow, you know, how do I talk to the anxiety about, you know, what it's doing right now? And you can say, okay, well, you know, this question here, it says, you know, what do I say to your anxiety during a panic attack? Well, and then you say those things, and then you see what happens. And now you still have to have all of these other principles, you know, and actions and patterns kind of like built up to where you can work with it. But this is designed to help you have those questions on hand when you need them. And you know that you're going to be sincere with them, and you know that you're going to mean them because you were sincere and meant them when you wrote them down earlier. It's just now you're able to shift your focus and your state into the same state that you had when you wrote those questions down. So it's kind of like a little trick, right? That was a horrible triangle. Ignore that. So let's say that this, you know, triangle, your state of being, is how you usually are during a panic attack, right? Or during whatever level of anxiety, during a trigger, whatever it is. And then this is your state of being when you wrote down the answers to these questions, or when you wrote down these, you know, lines of communication for your anxiety. This was your state of being then. And so during your panic attack, when you shift over to here and you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to read these sentences, I'm going to say these things to my anxiety, you are automatically shifting your language, you're shifting your physiology, and you're shifting your focus. All three simultaneously. You're changing all three of those things by saying, you know what, this time I'm going to open this up, I'm going to read these. So you can see how that's drastically going to change your state during that panic attack or during that trigger. And then you'll see that you're going to build up this new pattern right here of what state you can be in that's even possible for you to be in during a panic attack or during a trigger. And so that's what this tool is really here for, is a physical representation, a physical totem, if you will, of how to change your state, you know, during whatever portion of your anxiety that you wish. And that's really there to help you build up the relationship, because if you can't change your state and you can't, you know, have your respect and you can't communicate, that's not going to go anywhere. But if you've worked on these things and you just need some help as far as, you know, I have these things that I want to say when I'm fine, but then when it happens, I just get overwhelmed. That's what this is here for. Again, guys, I'm going to say this on every video. If you have any questions, if there's something that you'd like me to go back over, if there's any specific personal scenarios that you'd like some input on, feel free to send me a message. I'll be happy to help out any way I can. But I will see you guys next time.